Did you really just say being socialist doesn't stop a country from being run by a dictator? Do you guys really just never stop to think about what you're saying before you say it? The literal definition of socialism is a political and economic theory where the means of production, distribution, and exchange are controlled, owned, or regulated by the community as a whole. A dictator, which by definition is a ruler with total control over a country that has been taken by force, then it is impossible for the community as a whole to own, control, or regulate the means of production, distribution, and exchange. And then you compare it to China and the USSR, which pretend to be communist, which communism is different from socialism. You know, words have meanings, and just because they use those words incorrectly for their meaning, they called themselves communist, doesn't actually make them communist or socialist. Kind of like North Korea is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and yet despite the name, they are somehow not democratic or a republic. You know, sometimes people label shit in ways that aren't accurate to make it sound better than what it actually is. Kind of like how I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Dark Knight 5252 is not actually a knight. Zero way you're sharing the company of, like, Sir Elton John. So yeah, China and the USSR are communist or socialist, kind of like you're tasked with keeping King Arthur from crossing a bridge. Oh, and then this is really gonna blow your mind. Capitalism and socialism, not mutually exclusive. So much so that the United States is on the socialism spectrum despite being a capitalist hellscape. Because everything that lies between pure capitalism and pure communism is socialism. So all of our roads and bridges and public schools, our labor regulation, our environmental protection regulation, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, state and federal parks, even the military. All of these things are things that the community as a whole has democratic ownership, control, or regulation of through our representatives. That's socialism, and it's only possible because, in theory, the community as a whole has the ultimate say in how those things are used or regulated. Now, we could argue that the United States is basically a plutocracy at this point, but that's a more nuanced video for another time. So the moral of this story is Google is free, and it's handy to look up things like definitions before you start talking about things you clearly don't understand.